Jeremy Jones has delivered to the Executive Council of Australian Jewry today his 20th report on anti-Semitism in Australia. And the report has highlighted the highest number of incidents on record. Jeremy, can you give us some details, please?
Yes, well, the report's in a number of parts, and I think it's quite important to stress that when we measure incidents, we don't necessarily say that's the same thing as an increase in anti-Semitism, whatever that would mean, is an increase in reports of incidents. And one of the most disturbing features is that over a number of years, certain categories have remained the same or even grown, and other categories which may have decreased a little bit are still there. The two most disturbing categories in terms of rises in new records set in the past 12 months, one was street harassment of people going to or from synagogue and otherwise in public streets and having people yell abuse at them, anti-Semitic abuse. Now, this just seems so out of sync with the rest of the way Australian society works that it has to be something with which we're concerned. The second factor is more to do with technology than any measurable increase in number of activists, and that is the use of email as a means of harassing. We now have something like 60% of all incidents reported are the result of people receiving offensive, abusive or intimidatory emails. There are still some abusive telephone calls, hate mail, graffiti, arson and vandalism, but those are all at levels which are not good but relatively consistent over a 20-year period. But the emails and the public street anti-Semitism, which are the two opposite sides, you would say, of the anonymity and the public face, are the two areas where there's been the growth. But then we look at the other areas. You look at the attitude of churches, you look at the media, you look at the political environment, and in those areas you could say that any Australian politician, anybody with a pretense to credibility in Australian public life is going to argue they are not anti-Semitic. There's no way they are going to want to be branded as somebody who is hostile to the community, because if they are the Jewish community, because if they are, that effectively will destroy their prospects of being taken seriously generally or credibly generally. When we look at church groups, one of the major church groups in Australia, the Uniting Church, recently affirmed one of the strongest, most positive views of good relations between Christians and Jews I've ever seen. The Catholic bishops are very positive. So two of the three major groups, and the Anglican Church is still looking at this, but we've got two of the three major church groups very positive. Government generally very positive on most issues affecting the Jewish community, a good understanding of our circumstance and needs. One other area, though, which is a great concern, and that is when we talk about crossing of red lines in political rhetoric. Over a long period of time, there have been occasional references to Jews as Nazis or Israelis as Nazis. When I first was doing the reports, these were coming out of the Soviet Union and some particular far-left groups, and they were seen as insulting and crude and something that would not go anywhere near the mainstream media. In the last 3 or 4 years, but particularly in the last 12 months, we've had many letters published in newspapers making that comparison. We've had people making that comparison at public rallies, and we have had almost an acceptance that this is a fair way to talk about Jews in Israel, which I think is very inappropriate. We've also had an increase in one other phenomenon, and that is the use of Nazi groups, pro-Nazi groups, as well as far-left groups and other groups opposed to the Jewish community to find Jewish people they can use as their sources. And there's no way these groups do it because they feel any sympathy for Jews. It's just they now believe that one of the most effective ways of hurting the Jewish communities is to find Jewish people who have no embarrassment. In fact, they're what Anti-Julius in England calls Jews who are proud to be ashamed to be Jews. There are more of them than ever before who are coming forward, and no longer are they correctly identified as being people who have either no authority or no judgment or no morality, but they are perceived as being people who add weight to your arguments.
Jeremy, thank you very much. This is JY reporting. Thank Jeremy Jones, his report on anti-Semitism in Australia 2009. Thank you.